So just for context for the audience here, we do have an official debate happening. We have Ishkah and Trashcarcass here. And for this debate, Ishkah is going to be taking the view that using rescued animal products at food not bomb stalls has been a positive form of advocacy towards the goal of attempting to end all unjustified captivity. And Trashcarcass is going to be taking the opposition. Just be a normal back and forth debate, no formal or strict moderation, anything like that. And if there's no concession from either debater, we'll hold a voting poll at the very end where the audience can decide on who they think performed better overall in the debate. So thanks for debating, guys, and Ishka, since you're taking the affirmative, if you want to open up, you can go for it.
Cool. Thanks very much. Yeah, so the main thing I'm going to be arguing in this debate is that with like grey areas to veganism, I think it's important not to look like dogmatists. So and we're ground it in the real world. So like food not bomb stalls, and it's kind of going to be like a welfarist versus abolitionist debate. But I'm also going to argue that food not bomb stalls are like the revolutionary vanguard of abolitionist movement of like being out in public and creating grassroots movements. And so yeah, I'll see. I'm going to be using like it's going to be a niche philosophy debate about if you ever feel the need to defend rescuing animal products that have gone past the best before date, like bread with whey in it from shops for free and eating it yourself or sharing them out. So firstly, it can be great animal rights advocacy in rare circumstances, like so by setting up a food not bomb stall in the town centre and putting up a vegan sign in front of a big pan of vegan stew and a freegan sign in front of rescued bread. The vegan sign can provoke lots of ideas, lots of interesting conversations about the ethics of breeding and killing animals, while the freegan sign can get people talking about a further layer of if it is true that harming animals for their meat, milk, and eggs was necessary to feed the population. How come so very much meat, milk, and eggs ended up rotting in supermarket skips instead? Which can provoke further conversation about the evils of producing such an energy-intensive product like meat to just become food waste while people are starving around the world. Secondly, non-human animals we farm don't experience a worse quality of life, worrying about whether they're going to be eaten by other humans after they're dead. Humans do as a species norm. Thirdly, there exists healthy human cultures in which humans being eaten by non-human animals after they're dead is seen as a positive. For example, in Tibet, having your energy transferred into that of a bird is seen as a beautiful thing. Or simply green burials, where your body can more easily become nutrients for both animals and plants. So then healthy human cultures in which non-human animals are eaten by humans is also likely possible. And finally, even if it will be a better world when everyone is vegan and we're all disgusted by animal products in the same way as if no one ever felt pressured by sexist beauty standards to shave their legs again, that doesn't mean that it's not morally permissible to consume some of these animal products at the moment. I.e., it's not comparable to cannibalism, where you're causing worse quality of life in other humans by normalizing it, or normalizing the standard that women should have their genitals mutilated, as neither the choice to shave your legs or eat thrown out animal products necessitates violating anyone's rights or causing harm to anyone. And finally, these are to ground to go back to the food not bomb stall thing that we're debating. These are a bunch of topics that come up on a lot of food not bomb stalls, which make it a positive animal rights advocacy, or a positive form of animal rights advocacy. So some topics that come up often are we cooked vegan soup, so no profits needed to go to an animal industry which breeds and kills animals. Here's some vegan bread with milk powder in it, which was rescued, so no harm to animals and it's carbon negative. Isn't it amazing they kept those cows captive and milked them only for it to go in the trash? So that's one sign farming animals isn't necessary to feed the population. If so very much meat, milk, and eggs end up rotting in supermarket skips instead. Isn't it sad that politicians subsidize such an energy-intensive product like meat to just become food waste while people are starving around the world? So there you go. That's it.
Okay. So a lot of that, this isn't new for me doing this debate style. I'm more of a person that has conversations. So there was a lot of things that came to mind as you were talking. that I wanted to address, but I think you wrote most of that in your paper, so I could always go back to that and look at it. First things off for me, I have a problem with the term freegan. And that would be because it so closely relates itself to the word vegan, and I don't think they have anything to do with each other. There's other words, for example, like carnism or carnivore, herbivore, frugivore. Why don't you be a frugivore? Why does it have to be freegan? It does, if you say that to somebody, it sounds like it's similar to veganism in that if it's free, it's okay if you're a vegan. And I would say for any vegan, but maybe you would say for most, it wouldn't be. It's a moral philosophy, and think that, and I've worked next to Food Not Bombs before. I've worked at feeding the homeless. And I happen to know that the majority of the people that come there are indeed homeless, but there are still some people that just come there because it's free food. And some of those people, if not most, don't really care what it is. So having these moral discussions with them, I'm not really sure where you're going to get with that. And I think it only reinforces that you say, look at all this waste. Why did they breed these animals for it to go to waste? I think you're only going to reinforce the idea in their head of, yeah, they need to be feeding humans with this. Not that it's not going to waste, as you said. You are feeding it to humans. It's okay. Your analogy, you did your video. It was a rebuttal to a vegan foot soldier. And you did a similar analogy, but, trying to make your point. And this was about cannibalism. Make his point. Now, it was about these cannibals that were doing this heinous thing. They were killing these children and they were eating them. They caught up with them because of these human rights people. And when they didn't get to one of the children quickly enough and the child died from their injuries, he went home with his arm or leg and ate the child so they wouldn't go to waste. And then you came back with an analogy that had to do with human rights and female genital mutilation. I'm not really sure if I followed where that was going, because actually, like, there's still male genital mutilation and it's legal. So you did your story about the female genital mutilation. They didn't leave with a body part at the end. So I would think that would make more sense for a freegan analogy than it would if you were trying to make a point. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Let me go back to some of let me look at your paper here.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is you made a point you said something about animals aren't worrying about events past their death. They aren't suffering a worse quality of life, imagining they'll be eaten by humans after they're dead. Actually, I think that non-human animals do worry about being killed all the time. They have an instinct of being preyed upon, and far more so than humans do. We don't worry about humans eating us after our death. I know I don't sit around worrying about my death or what's going to happen to my body afterwards. So is that okay for somebody to kill me? That would be my question.
Yeah. So definitely animals worry about being killed. Like if you were like cutting into an animal and like eating and like eating the meat raw in front of it, then there would probably be like evolutionary like fear thing coming from that. So definitely not killing animals in front of other animals and things like that, and just not unjustifiably killing or keeping animals captive at all. But I just I think there's ways, like roadkill, for example. Like if you pick up an animal from the road that's already been killed and no other animals around to see you do that and not feel fear from that, then and you feed it to your like rescue cat or something, and it's like it's a way of like making sure that the cat is definitely getting all its
What about eating that yourself? Because feeding it, see, that's the thing. That's something else I wanted to bring up.
Mhm.
That's the thing about, you're saying these rescued animal products. Why not feed them to wildlife? Why not feed them to stray animals that have no moral agency? But when you're feeding it, the roadkill, I had a goddaughter who her and her boyfriend used to eat roadkill.
Right.
They considered themselves vegans, and they were freegans.
Mhm.
And they dumpster dived, and I did dumpster diving when I was a kid in the 80s. But I wasn't a vegan. But I was against it then, and I said that it was a slippery slope. It was going to lead back to, them thinking it's okay to eat flesh. And sure enough, the next thing you know, they're eating from fast food restaurants. And I think that's a slippery slope that you're doing here. Setting up a stall that says freegan next to a vegan stall. I just don't think they have anything to do with each other. And why can't you compost that stuff? Why can't you? We already, as vegans, can't really pick and choose whether animal products are being used for a fertilizer all the time, for growing our produce. We can't, in the real world, always choose that. So why not just compost these products? See, I have a problem with calling it a product, because we're still seeing, the misery and the suffering, and the product of that is a product of the animal, or as a product for us to use. And I think that's the slippery slope,
So
You get what
I mean,
I'm
we could
saying?
just yeah, no, I do, and definitely in the psychology, like habits, like I said, that can definitely happen. Slippery slope, like we allow a little bit of that, like the habit can just like snowball, but it can also go the other way. Like if someone is addicted to cheese, for example, cheese has monosodium glutamate, which is like opium for the brain. So, if someone wants to become vegan, but then like they had like no aversion to eating cheese, and they like on the way to vegan, they hadn't yet like lost their taste buds for cheese, and they wanted to, and this gave them like a rush, and gave them like a encouragement to keep strong and keep trying to be vegan. Then it's like it's like a tapering off. It can have a tapering off effect. It can be a habit that you taper off, and it helps you stay vegan for longer.
I
So
don't
it's
agree
just
with that. If I'm an alcoholic, giving me a shot instead of like a 12-pack is not going to help stop. And nobody's going to go out and sell their bodies for, it's not addictive like that. Nobody's going to go out and sell their ass for a piece of cheese. Nobody's going to steal from their mom to get a glass of milk. As a matter of fact, if it's so addictive, I would have still been eating cheese, because I thought I was a cheese snob. I used to be a cheese snob.
Mhm.
It's the psychological thing, and that's the thing. We're feeding into the psychological part when we're saying, but it's okay if it's free. It's okay.
Well, when people diet, they can like allow themselves like so many like treats per day. Like they can, as like as a way of tapering off, like how many sweets they eat. Like they can look forward to that like one sweet that they at like at 6 o'clock at night or something, rather than having before, like eating it just whenever they wanted. So I don't know.
Are we still? We're looking at the
Mhm.
death of an animal as a treat for us to consume, and that's the whole point. It's like it's against the moral philosophy,
Okay.
to think it's okay every once in a while. You know, I mean, where do we
Well,
stop there? Like, if you think it's okay
Mhm.
to eat it from a food not bomb stall,
Mhm.
what about if you go to a birthday party and somebody made a cake with eggs in it, and you eat that because otherwise it might get thrown in the bin? I mean, when does it stop?
Yeah.
If
So
you go to a restaurant and you order a veggie burger and they bring you out a hamburger patty,
mhm.
are you going to eat it because otherwise it would go into the bin? I wouldn't. It's a moral philosophy I've got to stick with.
Okay, and like I mean, there's arguments for like. Uh, so I mean, let's get to like if we call it animal bodies, and I give the argument of non-human animals aren't like the reason for me to never eat human meat or whatever is because even if it's not someone in the world could experience anguish on like a long-term basis, worrying that there's other people in the world who they might come in contact with who who would like show who would they worried that happened to them, that they like that even if it's irrational, like they like if I say say I had to have my arm amputated, and the doctors gave it me back, and I cooked it up as like a funny thing and put it online. I I even though even though if that happened in a vacuum, I think that would be fine, ethical. I wouldn't do that because I understand that we live in like social contracts, and other humans could be experiencing anguish that other people would treat another human like that, and then the worry that happens to them. I don't think that animals are experiencing worry on that level. They worry that they're going to be killed. They worry that like someone killing another animal in front of them is fear for them. But I don't think they're experiencing this worst quality of life, worrying about what's going to happen after their death. So that's
I don't think most humans really worry about what's going to happen.
not
I don't care what happens to my
well.
body after I die. You can
Sure,
feed me to the fishes for all I care. But
sure. That's what I said. I don't. But like even if it's one person, even if it's possible as one person, for me it wouldn't be ethical. It would be against my interest to possibly cause that one person harm in like one person in 7 billion. But the fact that it just can't happen in animals means that it's not an ethical issue for me. It doesn't. It feels like as long as I'm doing what is virtuous to me, like I think uh it's carbon negative. I think it's like if I rescue bread, then it's people eating food. Less food needs to get less energy. Matter needs to get produced. It's just an all round positive good. As long as you're checking those things like slippery slope habits, like going into meat eating. I think as long as those are accounted for, then you can be doing a good thing by using rescue animal products in this way. Yeah, just
but again, I don't think that it's necessarily true that animals don't worry. They worry about their death. I think probably more than humans do.
I say.
Just from the way that we treat our own selves, our own bodies. We smoke cigarettes, do drugs, we drive crazy, we do all kinds of sports that are like can cause bodily injury. That we live like there's no tomorrow, especially when we're young. Um, these animals, they live in constant fear for their safety, especially the animals that are preyed upon, and it's instinctual for them. And I think we can't possibly know what they are thinking. So to assume that it's okay to use their bodies after they die, I don't really think that's an argument. Because, like I said, I don't care what happens to my body after I die, but I can make that decision. I have that autonomy, and I don't think it's fair for us to make that decision for them.
Okay, well, I mean, I think, I mean, let's, I mean, if I just in a vacuum, if we just hypothesize a situation in which an animal can't have known that it was killed, can't have known that can't have known that it was going to be killed, and then like no other animal is seeing you eat this animal. No other animal knows that this animal has been eaten. Like it hasn't during its life worried that this thing is going to happen to it. I don't think the science says that's something that animals do. Like worry, like for the time period after it's dead, these things are going to happen to it. Then how is that?
With that argument, with that same argument, would you be okay with hunting then?
No, why would that apply?
Because I mean, if you go out into the woods and a deer is just minding their own business, no other deer around, and they have no idea that you're there, and they have no idea that they're about to die, it's okay to shoot and kill them without them feeling anything, and then go ahead and consume their body.
So I'm not justifying the killing part. I'm saying, oh, even just like roadkill. Like I'm just hypothesizing a situation in which the animal didn't know that it was going to die. I mean, I don't know. I don't think even if it did know that it was going to die, it was unjustifiable death. It's not worrying about what's going to happen to after it's dead. But I mean, maybe we could just move on from this, because I think probably your intuition is deeper than this. It's like and you're feeling it's like a self harm for you to treat animals in without dignity. You're imagining that, like, for you to eat animals, it would be, or for anyone to eat animals, it would be like lowering themselves to. Is that right? Am I on the right line?
No, I don't believe it's lowering ourselves. I think it's lowering the other animals. Because we're using them as we're still seeing them as a product.
Okay. So
whereas if it happened, let's say, for example, let's use a little analogy, kind of like you and Vegan Foot Soldier did. Let's say there was a child sex ring, okay, and these human rights advocates didn't get to this child quick enough, and she died from her injuries from being abused. Would it be okay to give her body over to a pedophile in order to stop a pedophile from doing it to a live child? No, because she's not an object, right? Her body isn't an object even after her death. Just because it would save another pedophile from doing it to another live child doesn't make it right. A pedophile just needs to not act on their instincts, which is what I think that we just need to not do. Even if we crave cheese, we just need to, as vegans, just not do that. It's a moral philosophy. I think that we are really, really playing a dangerous game, and we say it's okay in certain occasions to still look. Like I said, why don't we just like, for example, put that bread into a compost bin, let it go back into the earth just like it were a grave, and that's going to feed the soil, and that's going to feed a garden, and that garden is going to feed the people.
Or we could get our we could use compost toilets better and still gain some energy from that, and still feel like we're giving the animal more dignity by putting the energy to good use in eating it ourselves. I'll just clear up the foot soldier thing. Like, even if it'll be a better world in which everyone is vegan and we're all disgusted by animal products, in the same way as if no one ever felt pressured by sexist beauty standards to shave their legs, that doesn't mean it's not morally permissible to consume some of those animal products at the moment. I.e., it's not comparable to cannibalism, where you're causing worse quality of life in other humans by normalizing it, or normalizing the standard that the women should have their genitals mutilated. That's like the comparison I'm making. But neither the choice to shave your legs or eat thrown out animal products necessitates violating anyone's rights or causing harm to anyone. So it's a disanalogy to say that eating animal products is the same as cannibalism. Cannibalism can be compared to like forced genital mutilation, but the culture of eating animal products that are rescued, it is more similar to choosing to shave your legs, even though there's a sexist culture of forcing emotionally pressuring women to shave their legs. So with the story, with the video, I wanted to make explicit that you can have all the same intense disgust reactions to an evil action done without people's consent, like killing children to eat them, and similarly with genital mutilation, but that the comparison to eating rescued human meat doesn't follow for all rescued animal products, because you can have healthy human cultures rescuing animal products in which no one is suffering a worse quality of life, worrying about their interests being disrespected after their death. In the same way as you can have people choosing to shave their legs without harming anyone, regardless of if there exists a harmful patriarchal culture which pressures some people to do it, like with forced genital mutilation. So in the story, you can imagine that the parents getting FGM performed on the daughter is one trajectory the parents could have gone down, if you like. But my story diverges into a tale about how instead they simply had to deal with their daughter asking to be able to shave their legs, and how it's different in the same degree to genital mutilation as freeganism is to cannibalism. So that's it.
Well, I think the way it differs freeganism from cannibalism is because the norm is still that animals can be used as products, and we're not committing cannibalism. And I think in all these instances, it is a decision by a human being, whether it be upon another human being or another animal. It's still humans making these decisions. It's never the other animal making this decision in any of those cases.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I think this is a human-centric view, to believe that using these products, again, just put them in the ground, compost like all our bodies should, and feed the earth, and in turn, create crops and feed the world. I think that would be a great program to do for food, and Food Not Bombs is to do something like that, like, just collect or save these waste products, as they call them, and get a composting system out of it, or
Okay.
or feed stray dogs who don't have moral agency. Because another thing is, I see this as it's kind of when you're feeding the homeless these things, they don't have much of a chance. You're kind of treating them as scavengers, like they'll take what they can get, and perhaps that is true. Is it really fair to put them in that situation? I've actually met some homeless people that did not like the fact that they couldn't choose to be vegan in a lot of situations. And so I think that does hurt human dignity in that sense. To not just give them the vegan food, and in the situations where they don't care, I don't think you're going to get through with those conversations about food waste. They're just going to look at it as somebody's wasting food, and they should be giving it to me. I'm hungry. They're not caring whether it's an animal or not. And they have no power to change it. They can't change subsidies. So is it really that a fruitful conversation?
Okay. Well, I'm definitely we could compost, and that would be ethical. We're in agreement on that. You are making the point that you think it'd be a form of self-harm or lack of dignity for ourselves to do that to the animals. So just in my situation, if I'm wanting to use if I'm wanting to use animal material in the form of whey bread myself, eat it myself, to in my view, give the animals more dignity by using that energy to do good work in the world. How am I exploiting or treating animals without dignity, or treating myself without dignity? Because in my view, if I should live in a way which treat animals with dignity, then I should rescue bread with whey in it and consume it if it's desirable to me. Because although killing an animal isn't treating the animal with dignity, eating an animal to prevent waste is, because you're eating edible material that would otherwise have been thrown out. So less edible material needs to be reduced. causing less harm to the environment. And if it had gone to landfill, it might have got eaten by maggots or which can survive on any food, like rotten vegetables, or plants could break it down. But it would be much less dignity than you could show the animal by putting the energy to use in achieving happy flourishing yourself and setting an example for others. So yeah, where is the exploitation or lack of dignity?
I would ask, why is it less dignity for another animal or even maggots or earthworms to eat them? Is that not a human-centric view, that it's more dignity to have us eat them? Don't they need to eat too? Aren't we, if we're worried about the environment, aren't we worried about the insects and the animals that make it up? So why not feed them? Why can't their bodies go to feed them? Why is it less dignity if they were to be eaten by those other animals or maggots or whatever, other than us? But they need nutrition too.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's okay. So yeah, I'm happy to argue that point. My argument doesn't completely rest on this point. Like I'm willing to view animals as it would be more yeah. So I mean, it'd be more, in my view, it would be more dignity if the animals had never been unjustifiably killed. They had been like predated on or scavenged in the wild, and that would be like a more I think there'd be like more net well-being in the world if that had happened or something. But the reason I use the example of maggots in a landfill is because it's this kind of like maggots. So I mean, well, let's just I mean, so the intuition to want to go and rescue or intervene supermarkets from putting bread in the landfill. It's more, there's more dignity in that because well, we both agree on that anyway, because you're saying you'd like it to be composted, but sorry, I just so yeah, so like meat way once animal say a supermarket was throwing out okay, like bread, sorry, I'm fumbling. Say they've gone to all the effort of making bread. Bread is something that we can find pleasure in, and it's like it's a complex material. It is uniquely like designed to be able to for us to eat and get nutrition and enjoyment from, in a way that just throwing on the compost you can do with any like plant or animal material. So choosing to do that, I'll use it in advocacy. Is providing more dignity, in my view, than just throwing in the compost, because you can use a compost toilet and still compost anything that you waste, but you're putting the energy to use on like a macro form. Like, we're more intelligent, we're intellectual. Well, just, I mean, it's not even that, like, we have emotional intelligence of like a large mammal, and we can put this towards good deeds in the world. Like, bread is something that we can consume, other than just normal plant animal products that we can compost. So that's one argument anyway.
The thing is that bread can easily be made without eggs. I don't even know why
Yeah.
eggs or any whey or any product like that is just wheat and flour, really.
Yeah.
Water is what I meant to say.
Mhm.
Also, this is another thing that irritates me in feeding the homeless. It really upsets me because what it is we're adding insult to injury. We're adding injury to insult, I should say. Because these products are what give us heart disease as human beings. They give us heart disease, diabetes, all these health problems. And the same goes not just for homeless, but people who are in poor areas. I mean, we talk about this all the time. The food deserts and everything. They have all they have is convenience stores with crap food in them.
Sorry, my Discord just
Here's
crashed.
the thing. Here's what I say all the time. Is the way they keep poor people down is they feed them this crap food. Hospitals are not looking to make you better because they want to keep you as a customer. So these poor people, they get stuck in these systems of being ill all the time, keep going to the hospital. Then they owe everything that they earn to hospitals and pharmacies. And it keeps them down, it keeps them poor. And that cycle gets pushed on to the next generation and over again. Now, aren't we in turn also, we're giving animal products, unhealthy animal products to homeless people? Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be just in such a minute amount, like way, and it's like a binding agent that's like
It's a minute amount in that piece of bread, but
Mhm.
where's the line we draw? Where,
Well,
what if you
I,
found
I
a
I'd be willing
quiche
to.
and they were going to throw away a quiche? You're going to tell me it's okay to throw away the quiche, but it's not okay to throw away the bread with a little bit of whey?
It, I
It
would
would
feel
both go
fine,
into a landfill.
right? But I would, but it's like we don't need to. We don't need to feel like I, I'm acknowledging that it would be unethical for me. It would be against my interest to just like um to eat an animal in front of another animal and scare it by like cutting it up and seeing the other animal seeing all the blood and stuff. So there's edge cases within veganism where I don't think eating rescued animal products in any circumstances is fine. But I'm just with the debate is on food not bomb stores. I'm giving the example that most food not bomb stores use bread that has been rescued from supermarkets or donated by supermarkets, and it can have whey in it, and this can be like a positive form of advocacy. And if it has in that such small amount, I would be willing to eat it because I don't think it's having a negative effect on my health, or if it is such a small amount that it's the same as me eating like dark chocolate or something. And it's just like if I'm willing to do it, then I don't feel like I'm treating homeless people without dignity by doing it without offering it as an option to them. And it's like it's a way of like saving the world by being carbon negative, and less products have to be produced, helping the environment that way. So yeah, we just haven't got to. We need to define our terms like exploitation, dignity, something in order to get to why you feel like using animal products to give us energy, or do animal rights advocacy is a bad thing. Why it should be against our interests, why it should be against my interests.
Like I said in the beginning, I think it muddies the waters, slippery slope. Where do you stop? It
Mhm.
goes. Where does it go from a loaf of bread with a little bit of whey to a quiche that they were going to throw away?
Well, like I can just say for myself, I like I wouldn't want to eat a quiche because I know how much fat, and so I wouldn't offer that to someone as because it's I think it'd be so unhealthy for me. I wouldn't want to harm someone else by offering them something that I view as harmful. But I can offer them, but I feel fine offering them something which I don't think is that harmful. So I just draw a line there. It's a line in the sand, but it's a line that far enough one side in like very like minute amounts. I think is completely like it's completely in line with most people's lifestyles of enjoying like sweet foods or something.
You would draw the line for health reasons,
I would I would I would
environmental reasons. You're not drawing the line for moral reasons. I think that you've argued both health and environment in this so far.
I've argued that using rescued animal products where the animal isn't worrying about what's happening after their death is
Sorry,
like
say that again.
um I start with the foundation that animals aren't worrying about what's happening after their death in the way that
I
they're
don't worry
not.
about what happens after my death. So is it
Some
okay to
people
kill
do.
me?
Some people do. Like if
We can't say that some animals don't.
I think we can. Yeah, we can. So okay,
I think instinctually, they always are worried about harm at all times.
they're worried about being killed. I don't think that. I don't, like we've done
Well,
scientific.
I would say that humans are worried about being killed and not what happens to their bodies.
No, some people like I I wouldn't like to be. I would worry about the sanity of someone, of the being of the people in the world who would eat me, after I died. So we don't. It's against my interest that anyone in the world would eat another human.
I feel that way about all animals. So, I mean,
so
look some of the comment section of
okay.
these anti-vegans and the way that they think and some of the thoughts that go through their head. I'd say that, you know, eating animals is bad for their mental health.
Yeah. Well, but that's because they're not. I think that's because they're not worrying about how we kill animals and how we like go against their interests in like breeding them and living short lives and stuff. Sorry. Well. Oh yeah. So there's been a scientific experiment called it's about they have it's like a mind reading. They've discovered only recently that animals can have theory of mind in that like they anticipate what one other person is thinking in very rare circumstances. Like some primates can do this. So like we do this on toddlers to see at what age we start to like individuate. Anyway, so but this is only something that like chimpanzees can do and a few great apes. So it's theory of mind about what other people's intentions will be other than your own. So so they're only like thinking about this in like rare circumstances. Like yeah, so it's just like we only use theory of mind in rare circumstances as humans. Like if there's like red traffic lights and there's a car coming from far away, you're not thinking what's in the other person's mind that they're going to stop at this traffic light. You're just like stereotyping them that like they're someone who cares about their safety. So it's not necessarily like you're imagining like them in the driver's seat. But anyway, this is to say that we can experience we plan for after our death. We have like gravestones and we do all these things because we know how we want to be remembered. We know how we're planning for our legacy and how we want to be respected and how we want to plan for that to happen. But animals just aren't doing this on that level. They're worried about how they fear for how they might die. So we're definitely right to be vegan and not unjustifiably kill animals and not unjustifiably keep them captive, which hurts their well-being. But we just don't need to be concerned about and that, apart from for our own dignity and whether it's like self-harm to us, we don't need to be worried about something which animals literally cannot do or are incapable of doing in terms of like worrying about other people's intentions after they're dead. So that's what I think anyway. That's what I think the science says.
Okay. I don't think that, there's some human beings that don't really care about
Right, and I accept that.
their bodies. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think that's a reason to
But even if one person,
still,
even if one human can, for me anyway, for my if you're interested in my interests, like whether I like arguing me over to not eating rescued animal products, if in the human case, even if one person in the world would experience worse well-being, it's good reason for me to not want to do it, because it's something that I can easily avoid, and I think there's value in like social contracts in terms of humans not eating other humans. But I just if animals are incapable of experiencing that, then there's nothing there to like form a social contract around and worry about. So
okay. Well, I don't really know if we have much more to debate here. I didn't really think that we would change each other's minds at the beginning of this, but I did at least want to do this to get our sides out. So I guess unless you have anything more to say, we've been on here for an hour. I guess we could just leave it up to everybody else to let us know if we got our points across.
Okay, yeah, and yeah, we'll just have casual chat afterwards. I'm interested in you. I was watching a video. You talked about how if it was the choice between someone eating animal products, even rescued animal products, and someone killing you, then you or dying of starvation or something, you'd still choose not eating animal products. So I think, like, I'm interested in like using every possible avenue to advocate for animal rights, and I think using rescue animal products is one avenue of doing this. Like caring about the environment, caring about the way we use about using rescue animal products in this way that helps build grassroots movements. But
I just have a problem with calling it rescued animal products. It sounds like it comes from a rescued animal, and the animal was never rescued. And then if you're not talking about it being a rescued animal, they're not a product, and that's where I have a problem.
Well, we don't need to have the argument about whether it's all right to call animal products. Like, no, I'm just more interested in like the actual practical act of it, even if we call it animal material, is it still wrong? And for you it is. So yeah, we don't need to do that in my mind. That's all. And yeah, so I think it's useful to have exceptions, like people like to be open about grey areas where like I know people who have gone out to Syria to fight ISIS, and like this like really extreme grey area where they're vegan and they've tried to be vegan out there, and they wanted to go out there to help fight ISIS and free people from that tyranny and that being harmed in that way, and they've had to resort to eating animal products because the militia hasn't rationed enough vegan products, so they've had to eat like spam out of a tin or something, and for them that was like a way of like achieving more well-being in the world by fighting other liberation causes in extreme situations. So I think it's good to acknowledge these.
I mean, like the
areas.
people in the Andes that ate, were in the plane crash. I don't
Mhm.
blame them for eating people that
Okay.
died.
Okay.
When we take something that came from someone else being murdered, I think
Mhm.
that's wrong. If we are able to make another choice,
Mhm.
I think
Okay.
it's the wrong
Cool.
choice to take a product of murder, whether that be a little bit away
Or
in the
even
bread or not.
even roadkill, like accidental death. Okay.
I mean, I don't have to eat roadkill. I don't have
You don't have to, but is it ethically wrong to do? Why would it be against?
if I don't have to, if I were like, stranded and there's like nothing
Mhm.
around me, I wouldn't be mad at somebody for eating roadkill.
Okay,
If
that's
a
cool.
person isn't if a person isn't in that situation,
Mhm.
being stranded like that, that's a survival
Mhm.
situation, then
Mhm.
I wouldn't offer it. No.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just yeah. So I think it's just good to admit grey areas, like what ideal situation are we working towards? Like I think people come off like looking insane when they say like they would rather starve. I'm not saying you're saying this, but they would accept like a 30-year lifespan if the vegan diet was that harmful to them or something.
I said that, and I stick by that. But that's for me. I'm not saying that I would judge somebody else if they were in a
Mhm.
survival situation.
Okay, but even for
That
yourself, like,
being at a food not bomb stall is not necessarily a survival situation if you've got a bowl of soup that's vegan.
but even for yourself, like what, like if like
That's a
people are
personal choice.
okay, but if people if you want to be the change you want to set in the world, like people are looking to like why you've accepted that stance in your psychology, like where is that intuition coming from? Why is that a desirable thing for you to take that stance?
It's a
What?
personal choice for
Mhm. Well, okay, so but
my own moral stance for myself. That's just
mhm.
a standard I hold for myself.
Right, but if
It would be a spiritual choice, I guess.
okay,
Guess that's what you would call it.
okay, well, I mean, the way I advocate animal that people become animal rights advocates is uh let's just find I've got a quote somewhere. Da-da. I can just read oh shit. Oh yeah, so I like I think uh I think people should I argue people should become legal animal rights advocates um in terms of like a person who seeks to in on I think people should adopt this principle of um of a person who seeks to gain collective legal rights for non-human animals to have a refuge in dense wildlife habitat where they aren't subject to human cruelty, with the few exceptions where the law is overridden by right to self-defense or special dispensation. And I just think like we should be working towards this world where we're able to uh, protect, preserve, and rewild more habitat for wild animals to live, to express their capabilities in, to live full lives. And yeah, I just think like we're like when we were hunter gatherers, there was nothing unethical about eating animal products and animal material. And it's good that we're moving to a situation where we can design diets live healthy lives on without like using less land. So but if we if like the vegan diet was really harmful to us, then like I would feel like I would feel completely fine like with like people yeah, like so the reason like hunting animals for me isn't okay is because like it would be an act of self-harm for me to kill an animal when I know that I can eat like vegan food. But if I couldn't, if I knew that the vegan diet was like really harmful for my life and that would only give me like a 30-year lifespan, I would be fine like killing animals as like in like hunting them in so that they have this like long life in the wild, and I know that I'm doing it so that I can live a long life. I think that's like a perfectly fine world. I don't know. So I think like these visions of like there's like a vision of like there's some vegans are like for against like wild animal suffering, and they want to like create this world where there's like no wild animals and
that's a whole other subject. I'm against that because I don't think we should really get involved in wild animals' lives. So, I think actually I'm more of a misanthrope, so I wouldn't argue for people to
I just think
hunt if it was necessary. I would say just get rid of the humans, but I'm a bit of a misanthrope. Speaking of that, I will be having a discussion about that on my channel. YouTube.
Okay, well, I look forward to that.
Weekend, so maybe you can check that out. But,
yeah, definitely. So I mean, yeah. But this just gets to the point of like why I'm interested in the discussion. I think human well-being matters. I think caring about how much like energy-intensive products we grow and consume is important. So using rescue animal products in this way is helping the world, helping animals, being able to reduce how much land we use for farming and so that we can give more wildlife habitat back. There's nothing necessarily wrong with hunting apart from it's harmful to ourselves if we can eat plant products. So that's like the vision of the world that I want to like aim towards. And if you're in taking these stances against like rescued animal products and being willing to like die at 30 if the vegan diet was that harmful, I don't think that's like appealing to people in terms of like advocating veganism and advocating animal rights. So that's all. That's why the gray areas of
that's because humans have human interests or interest in the self-interest that
I don't think that's a bad thing.
Mine's more altruistic, and I'd rather the human race die out and let the animals live their lives. We'd do the environment a favor then.
Okay.
Anyway, we could go back and forth on this all night.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. We can end it there. But I think this is really important, and like just on that point, like we can like have like veterinary sanctuaries and like mercy killing animals in the wild who are injured and stuff. So like we can play this this really positive role in the world for our own self-interest and for other animals' interest by staying alive and by working towards this vision of looking after ourselves and also providing wildlife habitat for animals and using rescued animals in animal rights advocacy. So there you go. That's cool. That's just end it there.
I agree with helping animals when we can. Yes, I agree with that. I agree with rescuing animals in sanctuaries and helping them when we can.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right. Should we wrap this up?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I said everything I want to say.
Talking to you, Ishkah, though. It has been good talking to you. I appreciate having the conversation, and I hope everybody else enjoyed it.
Yeah, hopefully stick around and move to another stage and everyone else can join in the conversation.
Yeah, thanks, guys.